Paul Lafrance here, Stream of Consciousness series. In this video, we will be talking about living in pain of past and fear of future. And this particular topic, I'm going to reset the time clock, 5 minutes to go. If you would like to understand what I'm doing, please go back to the earlier video. I have been going now for quite some time, and I plan to go for a full 3 hours. Okay, how to sum this one up. There wasn't that long ago when I had no idea that I could control what I think about. This was the great revelation of my life. So about 5 years ago, I went through the calamity. I talked about it in an earlier video called The Liberty of Insanity, where I went through this change where I discovered I can actually take a hold of my thoughts and decide what's going to go through my head. So when there are times in life when people are wanting you to be interested in what they're interested in. They're handing you a book, or they're handing you this podcast, or they're saying you should really listen to this. And when and I think a lot of us can relate to the fact that most of the time we're like, yeah, no, I'm really going to get around to that, and we don't because there's no time. But I think we can recognize when something's coming from the four winds. When like this, a number of times in the same week, someone mentions the same podcast or the same book to you, and then you kind of pay attention. So that happened to me a number of years ago, and I was put on to this guy named Eckhart Tolle, and this book, The Power of Now, that he wrote, and the New Earth, and this other book, The New Earth, and it was given to me by these very prophetic kind of Christian friends of mine, and I was like, The New Earth, that sounds kind of new agey, dude, and I'm not sure about that. He's like, no, I understand that. Trust me, the Christians are losing their minds over any Christian reading this, and I'm like, please feel free to lose your mind and not understand what the book is actually about. That's there's many of you out there. You might as well join that club. What I understood about this is it tied into the very truth. When I read this book and I listened to Eckhart, and this guy Eckhart does not become my guru, but I certainly loved what he said, and so much of what he said, because he's like, I'm not the author of this. I'm gathering truth that is just out there. And that truth echoed everything that I believed from even when I'm reading the Bible. Jesus saying, take captive the thoughts of your mind to what I am saying to you, to the obedience of me. Christ being me, not me, Christ. You know what I'm saying. Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow has enough worries of its own. I could go on about scriptures quoting this left, right, and center. But every religion has the same mental concept where it just seems like everything boils down to the stage where you become of no mind, of no thought. And I've always been like, so then what, am I going to become a drooling moron? It's going to be in the corner like, and then it was like, no. And then I understood the difference. So I'll go back to a quick story. When I was hearing this and I was understanding that my present moment, most people in this world are living in this present moment where their now is occupied primarily with the thoughts flooding their presence of pain of past and fear of future. And I related to this. I understood this. Shit that's happened to me in the past is affecting my thought process now because I'm also thinking about my future, and I don't want it to happen back then to affect me over there, and I'm missing this in the center. And so I had this picture that was really kind of clear picture of this center room, which is the now, which is today, which is this moment in time. And I understood that, and I kind of got this visual of the center room, and there's these two rooms on either side. And there's a door on either side of that center room. There's a room to the left, and it's the room of thought. And there's a room to the right, and it's the room of consciousness or spirit or creativity, whatever you want to call the room over here. Depends pretty much on what religion you are. But there's a bar between the doors, and if this door is closed, that door is open, and vice versa. It can't be halfway. And what I understood was most of my life I spent with the door to thought flooding my now, and therefore my times of being actually centered and present and just actually conscious of what's happening were few and far between. But every single time I had recognized that my door to creativity was open, I was no longer full of stress or anxiety. Whenever I was acting in a creative way, I was no longer feeling those feelings. My thoughts were not ruling my emotions. So I did this experiment when I first heard this. I said, for the next 24 hours, I'm going to look at my left ear as the pain of past and my right ear as the fear of future. I'm just going to shut those down. And I'm not going to sit there drilling at a wall. I'm going to do something creative, and I'm not going to think per se. And I wrote music. I was doing some writing. I was working on a design. I don't know what else I was doing, but I can tell you this. In that 24 hours, my determination to not think led me to, for the first time, and as long as I can remember, not have that ever-present gut-clenching tension that I had just always known. It was just always there, and it was gone. And I was like, okay, if you're not paying attention to this, you're a fucking idiot. Like, you gotta, there's something going on here that you need to focus on. And in the 5 years since, and there's so much to talk about on this topic, and I'd love to hear people's comments, but in the 5 years since then, I can honestly say that I have gone from thinking constantly to thinking maybe 10% of the time, recognizing the difference between operating in creativity. When I'm doing this, I'm not thinking at all. The stream of consciousness, I am not thinking. I'm operating out of consciousness, out of creativity, out of spirit. There's no thought involved with this. 90% reduction in my thought processes and spending time in my mind has led to me feeling 90% more peaceful, more joyful, 90% happier. I'm definitely onto something, and I'm going to keep going. Interested in your thoughts. We're past 5 minutes. My bad. Next topic. Let's see where we're at here. Ooh, it actually ties in perfectly. Rejecting expansion and embracing contraction in our next video. Perfect tie-in.